Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. Make you wanna holler, hidey-ho. Burns your tummy, don't you know? Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug.
All right, this is SFBarkast. I'm Jeff Cleary.
I'm Andrew Lauder.
And Andrew, where are we today?
We are at the Tempest.
Tempest Bar.
Not only a work by Shakespeare.
That's
For all you highbrow listeners.
And what's the neighborhood we're in? The Tempest is in?
What would you call this?
Soma.
This is Soma, right? Yeah.
Soma, it's kind of like the, right in between. It is Soma, but it's close to the convention center as well.
Yeah.
So
sort of like
they get a little bit of that.
Powell Street.
It's off of 5th and Howard.
Yeah.
But officially, and this is one of the problems, well, not the problems, but this is one of the things about this bar, is that it's hard to find.
It is a little. It's actually, what is it, like Natoma Street?
It's officially
between 5th and 6th. So
it's officially on the corner of Natoma and Mary,
wow.
which is a small little alley over here.
As previously discussed on another episode, those are probably names of whores.
Yes, exactly. Right. I'm going to go with that. Without doing any research into it, I'm going to totally buy into that.
I'm going to guess that Natoma,
Natoma sounds like an Indian tribe.
Well, it could have been like a Pocahontas situation. Pocahontas, if you know what I mean.
Did you just call Pocahontas a whore?
I think I did.
Wow, we're only 10 seconds into this.
Well, apologies to you fire water drinking Indians out there.
The closest major cross streets are 5th and Howard.
Right.
This bar actually kind of reminds me of that line in Swingers, where they were talking about the cool bars in LA are always hard to find. So it's almost like going to the bar proves to everybody that you know where the cool places are, or you can follow directions. But it's also, this bar is an old sort of newspaper bar because it's right behind the Chronicle building.
Right.
And according to legend and lore, a lot of the writers used to come down here and I'm sure have 2 martini lunches.
It turned into 15 martini lunches.
I came here one afternoon and they were having a Chronicle party here, so a bunch of Chronicle writers were here, right. And they couldn't. This wasn't that long ago. They couldn't look more depressed. They were just kind of knocking back shots and just
right.
I can only imagine what they were talking about, fucking Facebook and you and your goddamn digital media.
It would have been if a bunch of steamboat repairmen were around in the 50s or something.
Exactly.
You're what's with everybody in their cars?
Or people who were really into CB radios. It's CB radios made this country. Now where are they?
All these newcomers with their ham radios.
You know what? It's kind of become now though. And this is what I've gleaned. Someone told me that it's a bike messenger bar.
Okay,
now,
so
which kind of makes
going
sense.
back to episode 1, the Gestalt House, sort of. I mean, which isn't really a bike messenger bar anymore.
The Gestalt House, that is a bike messenger wannabe bar.
Right.
But somebody told me some of the courier services are actually right around here.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. You can't exactly bike from, have your headquarters in the Mission if you're a bike messaging service. You probably need to have it around here.
Downtown.
Where all the business is.
Right, exactly.
Right. It's funny, actually, back in my former life as chief correspondent for SFBarkast.11.
Bragging.
Correspondent Drew and my column Staggering Through Fog. I named this the best bar in San Francisco.
Oh, you did? Really?
Yes.
What year was that?
And that would have been 2005.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but they fired you for that?
Well, amongst other things. I was stealing non-existent office supplies.
I like that, they fired you from something you were volunteering for.
Exactly.
You're this is the most confusing conversation I've ever had.
Just to clear, clear it up. I was actually unceremoniously I wasn't actually fired. I sort of quit in disgust. But it was because they wanted me to edit a review because they got free drinks at a different bar and
right.
So and I gave the place kind of a negative review because it was one of those password only places that
right.
At the time somebody like Mercurini frequented or whatever.
I understand that, and I know you were the one who this happened to, but why don't you let me tell the story?
Please do. Make up as many details as you like.
If I remember correctly, you gave a bad bar review to a bar that was kind of setting them up. And they pulled your bar review, and you went to the editor at the time, which is not Brock. It was this other...
No, yeah.
The guy who runs SFS right now, Brock, is a really nice guy.
Right.
But...
Yeah, I don't want to besmirch anybody that works there now. I'm sure they're all wonderful people.
But didn't she pulled your review because she...
He or she.
Oh, yeah. Her name rhymes with... No. So she pulled your review and told you that they were really nice to us.
Right.
And your response was, look, if I was the movie reviewer and they gave us all free passes to the movie and I gave it a bad movie review, would you really pull my review? It's like total... I mean, even on like a entry-level blog ethics, it's totally unethical.
Yeah, and
like you're the bar reviewer. It's your opinion. Everybody knows it's an editorial opinion piece, and so stop being.
Well, and this is sort of like the not the very beginning, but like towards the beginning of the whole sort of blog culture, where you had these people that like I think that there were two different kinds of people like in it at that time, and like I'm not gonna like toot my own horn and say that like oh I was the one that had self-respect and like I was blah blah blah, but like I think that like you had people that like that were like, oh, this is a cool way to like sort of like get your opinion out there or get or say some things or whatever, crowdsource whatever, and then you had other people that were like, holy shit, how can we turn this into like like we can be like I can be like the editor of the Chronicle or something like that, like I'm gonna like have everybody kissing my ass because if I say one word, like all my blogging minions will like will tear them apart and they'll be out of business.
What's really sad about that is that, I'm friends with a lot of bloggers, and one of the things that's great about it is like at the end of the day, they're like, hey, it's my blog. I'll write whatever the fuck I want.
Right.
It's like it's an opinion piece. I have a bunch of people writing opinion pieces, and if we piss people off, we can basically tell people to go fuck themselves because it's our blog. And it seemed like the editor at the time with you was acting not like that, but acting like, hey, Andrew, we have to play ball with these people.
Well, it's the difference between like a single entity, like a person, like writing something, and like something that's getting much bigger and has an editor and like all of a sudden has these like special interests. So like like they they're gonna say like, oh like in order to get like access to this and this place, we need to like suck this guy's dick and like and so like don't say anything negative. Even try to like pretend that like we're all completely like independent like minds, but really like here's what you have to say.
Yeah, they're acting like bullshit. They're acting like some scared employee who's afraid to like lose their pension that doesn't exist.
Well, and they're acting like they have this like power over me, like at the time, who like wrote like 52 columns without getting paid a single cent, and it's like you don't have any power over me. What are you kidding? Like, it's like my desire to become like one of your like minions or whatever like that is not gonna like cloud me into like
Yeah, some people in the early blog days were running it like they were, Apple computers, where it's like everybody has to get in line.
Like Charles Foster Kane of like like a micro-blogging world.
Hey Andrew, what's our listeners' like main complaint?
Oh, that we talk way too much about the bar that we're in.
Oh, right, we talk way too much about the bar that we're in.
And not about stupid minutia that happened 12 years ago.
So you know what? I'm gonna like fly in the face of that, and I want to talk about the bar.
Oh my god. They're gonna be so angry.
So the Tempest bar here, it recently changed hands. It used to be owned by this guy. I don't know his name, but he was the only thing I knew about him is that every time he was here, he was a super sweet guy to me, and he loved the Kansas Jayhawks. And then he would put up all this Kansas Jayhawk stuff, and when they won the championship a couple times, like he was just elated.
Right.
But I don't know what happened to him. And so they turned it over to somebody else. And, we talked about this before where when a bar gets taken over, there's a real risk when, maybe they want to change the style of the bar. Maybe they want to change the interior. And, maybe they want to, make it an upscale bar.
Right, it's not making enough money.
It's not making enough money. We want to put some money into it and then charge, like, $6 for a Sierra.
Right.
That's not the case here. Like, whoever they sold the bar to is kind of carrying the torch.
A little, yeah. Like for the most part, I would say. I'm not sure if I had to do the whole best bar in San Francisco thing again. I'm not sure that this would win. And it's
Well,
not,
you know, it's
not for lack of trying or anything like that. I think it's because they've put like a new coat of paint on it that disguises how perfectly divey it once was, to some extent. Like I think it's still it's still got a lot of really great qualities to it, and and I think it's hard enough to find. It's in a dark alleyway.
I mean, it's definitely it has that neighborhood feel bar where it has a lot of elements that I really like.
Right.
You know, it's it's neighborly. It's got a pool table here.
Right.
They have food here as well.
Yeah, well, I mean that's something I was going to mention is that 7 years ago, if we were sitting at this table, it would just be a shitty table with shitty chairs, and now we've got black black tablecloth, a menu in front of us with a $10 burger on it. So I mean that's.
I used to have this rule that if you went to a place with tablecloths, you're like, oh, classy, but there's tablecloths here, and it's like that never occurred to me.
I think that's just maybe this is just me and you getting old, or just me getting old, but and maybe it's just the forward march of time that where it's what
What
people
are you talking about?
well, no, I'm just saying that I look at stuff like this and I think oh, they're really trying to be all high class, but you're probably right. It's not if you put a tablecloth on a table in a dump of a place, it's not necessarily that it's high class. It's just that they're trying.
Yeah, they're trying. I appreciate the effort. One of the things I like about the new owners is they have stripped the walls of whatever you put up on brick. I don't know how to explain this. They have this exposed brick right now.
Yeah.
But before they had, I don't know whether it was drywall or just some sort of plywood to make it look like it was a clean wall that they put stuff up on. And whoever the new owners are, they tore all that down, and now which is great.
Yeah, and essentially
it makes it look so much better.
Yeah, and didn't refinish it or anything, so it's still got sort of original glue and it's got a really sort of crappy mid construction feel about it, which is great.
Well, whoever the new owners are, they realize oh no, that is it's a good feel. To have exposed brick, it feels good. Well, I don't know. It reminds me of Chicago bars or East Coast bars.
Right, old,
somebody told me that the reason why they don't do that here is because, and I guess somebody told me that they can't build with brick anymore in San Francisco because of earthquake concerns.
Yeah.
So maybe
actually, I saw I think you and me both were reading some Yelp reviews on this place to sort of get a feel for for what the ordinary asshole has to say. But and somebody was oh yeah, good luck if you're there during an earthquake, because I didn't see any support structures around the brick. And it's just that's really how you're reviewing your bars.
That's how you want to present yourself on Yelp. Exactly. Or it's just this bar might be great, but you're gonna be crushed by bricks if an earthquake ever happens.
I got beat up and shoved into the toilet this bar, but thank God, the walls had structure to them and will survive a 10.0 earthquake. That
would be a good Yelp character to do, the PTSD Yelp reviewer. It's this is a dark bar. Somebody could easily come up behind you and stab you.
I think that's probably the next step of Yelp is that it will become entirely infiltrated by improv students doing characters. It's there's no real reviews at all. It's just these weird long form improv responses to.
I once said that the new frontier for comedy was Amazon reviews, and I've never really ran that one out. But whenever a funny one comes up, I'll let you know.
The unfortunate thing about choosing that as your artistic palette or that is that there's already a whole bunch of complete idiots that so you're essentially pissing into an ocean of mediocrity with your great art,
and you're hoping that somebody recognizes your piss in that ocean.
Exactly. Yeah, like somebody goes through the 5,000 other reviews and is like, you know what, this guy's hilarious.
Exactly. This guy's making fun of those other 10,000 reviews, and
This
it was
guy's
worth
review
it.
of like that wolf howling at the moon shirt is obviously ironic and much funnier than like this guy's serious but terrible review.
Hey, you ready to take a break?
Sure, why not?
All right, so this is SFBarkast. We're at the Tempest Bar at Natoma and Mary.
Natoma and Mary.
All right, time to get a drink.
Prostitutes.
Pull the blindfold down so your eyes can't see. Now run as fast as you can through this field of trees.
All right, this is SFBarkast. We are back
We're back!
from the Tempest Bar
Tempest.
in south of Market.
South of Market. Natoma and Mary.
Natoma and Mary. So, what do you think about this bar?
You
Like,
feel the need to like cross yourself and like Natoma and
Andrew,
and
do not-
the Virgin Mary.
don't make fun of my Catholicism upbringing.
Just saying, it took a lot of bad taste for that prostitute to name herself Mary.
the Virgin Mom. So, what do you think this place is like on the weekends? Like, do you think it's like packed? Because I've
sure
only
it's
come
like-
here. I used to come here before an open mic because it was really close. But I've never been here. You know what? I'm lying. I was here a long time ago to see a local band called the Groove Pigs.
Ooh.
Yeah, and this is when they don't have the shows here anymore.
Right.
But I've never been here.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people sort of like, and I hate this term, but if people pre-game for shows at like the mezzanine,
mezzanine,
or
yeah.
like or sort of maybe clubs like that where it's like it's not going to start till like 10 or 11, so you might as well come in here and like.
You're totally right. Like if you were going to mezzanine, which is a great place, a great like venue.
Right.
This would be the place you want to go.
Sure. Yeah, because you're going to get like inexpensively drunk before you go and have to pay like $8 a beer or something.
Yeah, well, it is expensive over there.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm a little worried, dismayed about this bar.
I was going to say, well, I'm worried. Wow. Like,
Not worried, but their jukebox is gone.
yeah, I noticed when I walked in that like there was some underling that was sort of like punching away at like a stereo behind the bar, and that there was no choice over the tune. So that's why you're hearing Steve Miller and not something good like me would play.
You mean you didn't play this?
No, I mean it's constantly in my head already. So
Well, I don't know if maybe it was a financial decision, because somebody told me that like jukeboxes, you have to actually pay out to people
really,
who manage the jukebox. Like the bar doesn't own the jukebox. It's like some dude that comes in and like.
what kind of fucking bullshit scam is that?
Yeah. Well, no, because it's a way to get around like some sort of license.
Oh, is it like a?
It's like a cabaret license. I don't know. Like,
How could that be considered cabaret? Like that whole licensing bullshit. Like,
I totally agree with you. Like at the Casanova in the Mission, they shut down the DJ booth
right?
because they didn't have a cabaret license. And someone told me, they were arguing, what about a jukebox? And somebody said, no, the people who manage the jukebox, which is an outside entity, they are the ones who have the cabaret license.
That's like some mob shit.
It is,
like,
yes.
Like,
It is
like,
total.
like,
It sounds
hey,
it sounds like a total shakedown.
right. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, people who were getting shut down, like at Gestalt and over at Casanova, they were saying, a lot of times we just have bartenders play their iPods,
Right.
and by the letter of the law, I guess you can't do that.
Amazing. Well, you know what this place does have going for it, if not a jukebox, is they've maintained some of their better drink specials. Which
we've been taking advantage of.
A little bit.
So they have this one drink special where you can get a 12-ounce can of Busch beer
Right.
and a Dickel's whiskey.
George Dickel whiskey, I think. Like
George Dickel whiskey.
not to be confused with Bob Dickel. Or
By the way, George Dickel sounds like a character on Boardwalk Empire.
He does, or some sort of weird thing that either Natoma or Mary might do to you in prostitution days.
It's like give you a golden corral.
Chocolate Wonderfall. But no, this place. I mean, like, and for it was at like $5. You can get a shot and a beer. Like, granted, it's it's a Busch beer. It's not it's not your world's best beer or anything like that. But you can't do better than that in this city.
You really can't. Although whenever like you have one of these really good like drink specials,
Right.
don't you get the feeling that it's like stuff they can't move? It's like George Dickel's whiskey
Right.
and Busch beer. It's like
We found this on the back of a truck.
we bought this in '99 and it's still sitting in the fucking warehouse. Drink it.
We know this stuff can't go bad, but we'd still rather get rid of it.
But you know what I like about this bar is that it is. A lot of people on Yelp were like complaining, "Oh, these fucking yuppies at that bar, they're taking over this bar and all this stuff." It's like it's all a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
Oh no, I'm sorry, not yuppies. I mean hipsters.
Oh,
people
right.
are saying all these fucking hipsters like are taking over this bar, and it's like no, you basically think they're hipsters because they ride bikes.
Right.
And by the way, like complaining about hipsters, I just want to let everybody know is a fucking luxury. Okay, like it could be 100 times worse.
Yeah.
It could be a bunch of like jocks. It could be a bunch of yuppies.
Right.
It could be plenty of like other like subcultures that you would hate worse. But like hipsters, all they want to do is like ride their bike.
Let me just clarify that we don't mean any like specific races or anything like that in that statement. Like
No.
I just thought that could be like horribly
I didn't say that.
misconstrued. No,
You said that.
I know it happened in my own head, and I apologize for that.
But like all like hipsters want to do is like ride bikes and listen to good music and watch good movies. Is there a problem with that, people?
I think like as with most subcultures or political parties or anything like that, like the far extremes of any one of them like can definitely like ruin your day or like
Sure.
but like
I guess the big complaint about hipsters is that they are too judgmental.
right.
But I don't. I mean, I live in the Mission, and I haven't come across that. Like, I mean, I guess there's some people who will like look at you and be like, "What? You're not what?" I don't know any hipster who will look at you and say, "What? You're not wearing skinny jeans?" Then
Right.
fuck you. It's like no, they don't do that.
Yeah, I think like a lot of that is projected upon them, where it's like, oh, that guy, like, he thinks he's so unique, he must think I'm not unique, so fuck him.
Right. Exactly.
Because he's judging me. And it's like, well, no, he's probably not. He's probably 10 times more insecure than you are.
Yeah,
and he's just like, oh, I hope that like, hopefully like these skinny jeans will help me get laid with some girl that's out of my league.
And chances are he doesn't give two fucks about you. So stop like creating like this.
Sorry, he's like, who's this old guy hanging around here?
One of the other great things about this bar is they have soccer on. Although I realize like not a whole lot of people are like watching it.
No, it's true.
But that's yet another ploy to get like Europeans in.
Yeah.
If I ran a bar, honestly, like I would like play soccer like every Saturday morning, like it's fucking cartoons, because like those European guys will come out.
Right. But overall, I mean, like the whole layout of this place is good. Like you say, you've got the pool table. I think the pool table's like 75 cents or something like that. It's pretty cheap.
Mm-hmm. They got a video game where I think you can play like Ultimate Fighter or some shit like
Street
that.
Fighter 2 looks like.
Street Fighter 2.
Champion Edition.
One of the things they don't have in this bar, though, they don't have a neon sign of an Adult Swim character.
That is
which
weird.
is kind of weird. But
Yeah.
you know what? Let's just like leave it at that.
Yeah, like that's I'm sure there's a good reason for that.
They have a Giants jersey on the wall, number 54.
I noticed that. I have
And
no
it's got
idea
a
who that
broom right above it, so I'm assuming it's from like the last World Series. It says, I'm assuming it's like the sweep thing.
is. It could be a janitor.
That's true. We have to like look that up.
Number 54. Please write in.
If anyone wants to write in, all right, we're gonna take a break.
All right.
And we'll be back from the Tempest Bar.
See you soon.
And it's such a sad old feeling, all of the fields are soft and green.
Okay, this is SFBarkast. I'm Jeff Cleary.
I'm Andrew Lauder.
And where are we?
The Tempest.
The Tempest.
Was that a test? I got it. Did I get it right?
It's one of these sobriety tests I will give you from time to time on the podcast.
I love my wife. Please come with us, sir.
All right, Andrew. I want to we talk about a bunch of different subjects on this podcast. I want to talk. Here's the sports section.
Okay.
And so if anybody
to warn people about it.
No, because some people aren't into sports, and so they go over it. I'm looking at you, Drew Harmon.
Sore subject.
So all right. So what are the big things that happened in sports this week? Lance Armstrong admitted that he doped.
Right.
And if Who Cares magazine was a real publication, I honestly feel like this could be a cover story for them.
Totally. I think especially given his
who
good
cares?
work in the cancer community and everything like that. People will essentially say oh, but he took everybody under false pretenses and but you know what, but he did that to raise money for cancer.
So there's two sides of it where it's
you're really put in a shitty position. If anything, we should be pissed at him for putting us in a crappy position of donating money to cancer when we wouldn't have ordinarily.
There's two sides of it. There's one where it's yes, he raised $500 million to cure for cancer research. And the other side are people who have cancer who believed in this guy and thought that he was this super athlete.
Right.
Come to find out he had
money regardless.
it's not like they take the cancer research money back.
Right. Sorry,
but also,
we can't spend this money on research for cancer. It's tainted.
No, exactly. It's not like you got money from the mob, you know.
Right.
But you know what I would say about that is anyone who honestly thought in the first place that he was clean, cycling is notoriously the dirtiest sport, since mid-60s weightlifting. Right.
Well, and also I've always I'm sure on some level this makes me a terrible person, but I've always felt the people wearing the after the first year or so, people wearing the Armstrong the Live Strong bracelet, I've always thought douche. And it's really the best you could do is spend $1. And you want everybody to know about it. It's if you want to help cancer, donate to help cancer and shut your mouth and good for you. If it happens to come up in conversation, I'll say, you know what, that's awesome that you did that. That's great. But for you to wear a bracelet around and be I gave $1 to cancer.
Well, the side, I have no problem because I always knew that all these guys were doping. Right. But the side that people are saying is what if if he was your hero, if you were a young kid and he was your hero, and then you have to find out that he was hopped up on.
What kind of weird kid has a cyclist for a hero though?
Not an American kid, I'll say that. But then I started thinking about it.
Cyclist with one testicle even.
He just survived cancer twice though, didn't he? He had brain cancer and he had testicular cancer.
I don't think they cut off the other testicle because of his brain cancer though.
No, but I think he had bouts with both of them, and
maybe he cut off his own due to the brain cancer or something.
But I remember when the Red Sox won the World Series in 2004,
right?
And thinking when all these people were starting to test positive for steroids, and I remember saying to somebody, "Is what? If I found out that Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz actually did steroids, it would really bother me."
Which was a lie, as it turns out.
Well, as it turns out, well, it was a lie because it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it first came out that they both did do steroids, I was just of
course they did.
Of course.
Everybody did.
It is although the only thing I'll say about steroids is Floyd Landis in the Tour de France. He had this one day where it was superhuman. He came back and it just, for me, begs the question how far can we push the human body with the most amount of drugs in them? It's what he did was basically hitting an 800-foot home run.
Right.
It's insane. So let's get some guys on PCP and put them on a bike.
Yeah. Well, to me, the line is really the line is really is thin between like, okay, you've got like these like inner city kids that have nothing else going on, and like and their only ticket out is to become like a football player, right? And so,
well, that used to be the case.
Well, I mean, yeah, and to some extent still is, but like and so you've got these like kids that are willing to risk terrible brain injury that we
Everybody knows
that we know about, and like probably a lot that we don't.
Yeah.
And so you've got like these kids that are willing to do it, and everybody's fine with it. They're like, they're like, you know what, like they get to make millions of dollars, and I get to watch like people crack skulls against each other.
Well, football's different though, because football's definitely different from cycling, because as soon as like Lance Armstrong goes away, nobody in America will give a fuck about cycling.
True.
But football is the number 1 sport in America.
But you know what? Like, it will diminish in popularity if it becomes flag football.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
If there's not, if they regulate it to the point where it's just like, tag, you're it.
Well,
like no one, or not no one, but like much fewer people will care.
Well, this is me looking into the future. Okay,
Right.
here's my like crystal ball segment of the show.
Do we need like music for this?
We have another one bites the dust in the background.
Close enough.
So, I honestly feel like people I know who have kids now, like they don't want their kids to play football because of all this shit that's coming out about like brain injuries and stuff. So,
But these are like educated, like middle class people, I would say.
right, but don't you think like it's going like if people don't want their kids to play football, like and football's still the number 1 sport, like people will find people to play football.
Oh hell yeah!
Whether they're like Pacific Islanders or like people from like Europe.
Oh totally.
But like with all the bad press that football is getting as far as like brain injuries and stuff,
Right.
it's I don't know what's going to happen. Like
I
people
almost
on
feel like-
ESPN have said that it's like a death toll for football, but I don't think so, because it's the biggest sport in America.
Right. But I'm just saying that, like I think the line is very thin between that and and just allowing all like performance enhancing drugs to exist. I mean, like because like I mean you've got like probably just as much evidence that like that it's that it's bad for you and bad for your body to hit your head against another guy's head as we do saying like shoot up a horse tranquilizer or like that for a while.
And a lot of these guys like Jason Taylor, they all say that they would do it again.
Yeah.
Jason Taylor, there was a great article by Dan Lebitard, who I hate to plug,
Right.
about how all the horrible, like he almost had to have his leg amputated, and he was like a all-pro linebacker for years and years because he wouldn't be able to climb stairs, and then he would go to the game and get shot up with all these like chemicals, and then he would go out there and play a professional football game.
Right.
And he said at the very end, like I would do it 100 times.
Right.
Because it afforded him
I think
a lifestyle that he liked.
Well, not only that, but I think that like in order to like become that like level of athlete, I mean, like, and granted, there's exceptions to this, and like there's there's probably like like people that are of good like sound mind and everything like that. But I think that to some extent, in order to like pursue that as a career, and like you get to that
You
level,
have to
like you have to be like sort of mentally fucked up to begin with, where it's like it's been drilled into your head since day one. Compete, and if you can't compete, you fucking compete anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like, and like say like Griffin the Third, like or like that. He's out there on half a leg. And if
Robert Griffin III from the
and-
Redskins.
Right, and if it was up to him, like he'd still be playing right now, and like he would let people kick him in the leg for half an hour, and then still go out and play because that's what's been drilled into his head since he was 5 years old.
Lebitard said that in the weight room that he used to work out at, there was like a big sign that said, "Be a player, not a patient."
Ooh,
It's just like, wow, like what, like
and
that
in
is
other
so
words,
fucked
choose
up.
to do something that you have no control over. Where it's like,
I mean, well, the other thing is like these guys are getting like compensated. Like, would you do this for like $10 million? Maybe.
Right.
Some people would.
oh, a lot of people would. Like, I mean, look at, I mean, like fucking reality television is filled with people that will do just about anything to to
For,
get
like,
a
10
few
grand.
dollars. Yeah, like, and with with the possible promise that they'll be noticed at a mall in 5 years. it's like that's just
Did
amazing.
I tell you this story? Okay, I know we're getting off subject as far as the bar and everything, but you know
Yeah, we
what?
talked about the bar last segment.
Yeah, we did. But I was friends with somebody who was the sister of somebody who was on The Real World.
Okay.
and it was Real World San Francisco.
Oh.
And I'd been to a couple like parties with them, and I remember this girl told me her sister, who was on Real World, said that her and her boyfriend, who was also on the Real World, kind of like figure it out what's going on here.
It's pretty incestual, that world, I think, when you get down.
It's like Real World San Francisco. So anyway, they in Real World San Francisco supposedly was like one of the highest rated shows, and they would always remind us of that. But they would always like say stuff like, "Oh, you know what? I really need to go get like a pair of sneakers, but I don't want to go to Stonestown because I don't want to get mobbed." I mean, this is a long time ago, but in their mind, they were just like, they were just like, yeah, like we just can't go anywhere anymore.
Like, that's so sad because like it's the worst part of like being like you don't have the rich part, you just have the famous part.
Well,
like,
you know
so basically you get hassled, but you get nothing for it.
Yeah, I love drug movies. Okay,
Right.
like I know that's like a weird response to what you said, but I love drug movies because I love addiction stories.
Right.
And I honestly feel like, and this movie hasn't come out yet, the next great addiction movie to come out or story is going to be about fame. It's not going to be about coke. It's not going to be about like heroin or meth. It's going to be about these people who are willing to do anything to be on reality television.
Right.
Look at that fucking guy from Colorado who put his sent out that thing about the balloon boy.
Oh yeah. Going back a couple of years.
Going back a couple of years, but like this guy was on Life Swap. And then he went back to like Golden, Colorado, or in Colorado Springs, and he's just like, I can just imagine his whole like mindset being like, well, once you get a taste for Life Swap, it's not I can't go back to the button-down lifestyle of Colorado Springs.
Terrible. I mean, like,
so he like made this horrible, fraud where his kid is in this balloon, and then CNN and Fox News and all these people like picked it up, and he's like, yeah, like, I have an addiction. I need to fucking like I need to keep myself in the spotlight somehow.
And probably like all the news agencies were like, you be quiet about that part. Like we have a great story here. But like no, I mean, like as someone who watches a criminal amount of reality television, just I mean, like, yeah, and I'd love to say that they're like, I just watch it all ironically, and like, I just sit there with my middle finger up, and like, I mean, there is some of it that's like really like compelling, but at the same time, it's like, when you start to really like think about it, like it's really fucked up, and there are like these like people and couples and stuff like that wind up hopping from show to show, and like and get caught in this like sort of like first I was on Survivor, now we're on like Amazing Race, and now we're and now we're in this, and like and then like at some point it just fucking cuts off, and who knows what happens to him, and like it's sad when you realize that like I don't fucking care, like like if they were like dead in a ditch, like it would at most get like it sucks for them like, out of me. I have
a friend who is on Real World Seattle, and she has said to me that it was as far as like getting her name out there, it was great, but she said it was the worst thing that ever happened to her.
Oh, I'm sure that's true. I mean, like, and I know who you're talking about, and like her cases in particular.
It is doubly true. Okay, so we are dive bar connoisseurs. We are bar connoisseurs.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, like, and if there's a type of bar that like we're most fond of, it is going to be of the dive variety. And,
the dive variety.
It's such an overused term. I mean, like really, when you think about it, I mean, especially in a city like this, where like just to live in this city at this point, like you sort of have to have a certain median income that like puts you above like the entire city of like Columbia, South Carolina, or something.
When I traveled across the country, like I found like dive bars that were real dive bars.
Yeah,
it's like a lot of times like it's like that Simpsons joke. No, this is not faux dive. It's real dive.
Right. It's like,
and a lot of
my life is in danger. Oh my god. Wow. That guy's got a drawn weapon. Like I should, right. Like I should go somewhere else. But like SFist,
the aforementioned SFist that fired Andrew.
Fine. Exactly, which I have no grudge against, and I maintain that I was not fired. I voluntarily stopped contributing.
Fired.
Not true. So they released their list
of the
best dive bars.
The best dive bars in San Francisco. So let's like read them off. Okay.
Okay. Well, let's go from bottom to top.
Bottom to top.
And I don't even know if that they...
Number 10.
I don't even think there is 10. So, okay, the last one is the Latin American Club, which...
Latin American Club,
I'm sure we're going to
it's
do
a
a podcast
mission
from there at some
staple.
point,
Yep.
because, like, I mean, we've got a lot of history there.
Here's...
Friends of ours lived, like, down the block from there.
Yeah,
Practically every, like,
I used to go there a lot.
Yeah, like, practically every sort of, like, hey, so-and-so's going out of town, so-and-so's back in town. Like, you know, you meet at the Latin American.
I had a friend of mine who came here from Colorado, and she told me that she really wanted to go to the Latin American Club because she had heard about it. And I was like, oh. And so I talked to her afterwards. I couldn't, like, meet up with her. But she said, like, I was like, how did you like it? She said, well, nobody spoke Latin like Spanish.
I think you were saying nobody spoke Latin.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Like, what is your problem?
But, like, that was her impression from an outsider's perspective, that you go to Latin American Club, it's going to be, like, Spanish-speaking people there.
One would think.
But guess what? Not so much.
Right.
It's, once again, hipster, like, mission hipsters.
I have to give her a little bit of leeway. If I went to, like, Mexico, and, like, there was a place called, like, Uncle Sam's American Bar, and I went there and, like, everybody was speaking Spanish, I'd be like, this is kind of a ripoff. But,
All right, what's next?
All right, second to last. A place called The Gangway that I've never heard of.
It's on Polk Street, right?
Larkin.
Larkin. Oh, a block. I was a block
Just
off.
the name of my second nephew or something, I guess. Like my
Gangway? Your
Yeah.
nephew's name Gangway?
Not Gangway. No, my cousin's daughter is named Larkin, after the street.
That's another. That's
Go
like one of
figure.
those like who cares like byline articles.
Like, believe me. I mean, good for them. Like you guys are hip.
What's next?
Yong San Lounge.
Where's that?
On Bush Street, 895 Bush Street.
I don't know that one.
It sounds like
Is it the hot? It's not the Hara, right?
no, it's like I'm not sure if it's Chinatown or I mean,
No.
I would think so, but well, we'll probably have to check that at some point.
All right, so we're learning stuff. Right, here we go.
We are, yeah. And of course, the next one is Mr. Bing's.
Mr. Bing's. Oh my God, this great North Beach staple.
It is a North Beach staple. And surprised that it hasn't been like sort of like turned like into something. But you know what? Like Anthony Bourdain did a piece from there on one of his shows. So maybe that'll be enough to like keep it in business for a while.
No.
As tourists come and be like, ooh, I want to experience.
When it comes to like Mr. Bing's, it's like clearly it is a place where they own the space. It's not like they're worried about the owner like doubling their rent or anything like that. Because how would they ever like stay in business?
But I mean, you never know. Like it seems like more and more places are the owner either dies or just decides to sell and retire, and then all bets are off. Like actually, and this is to take away from the list or go away from the list for a second. Oh crap! Now I can't remember the name of it. The drag bar in Hayes Valley.
Marlena's.
Marlena's is going to be closing down in a couple months.
No,
because
really?
Marlena is retiring and moving to like the South Pacific or something.
That would be that would be a horrible development if Marlena's became some like shishi bar.
Yeah.
And it's Hayes Valley, so it's going to be.
Yeah. But like but I read that the new owners are determined to keep at least some of which.
Well, do the new owners cross dress?
That's what I'm saying.
If they don't, then they're not going to keep any.
Well, and do the new owners own like 1,000 pieces of Christmas memorabilia that they can put up every year? Like probably not.
Well, like the story about Marlena's is that it's named after the owner's cross-dressing personality.
Right.
So it's like he is himself.
Right.
But if you ever like talk to somebody who cross-dresses, it's like they talk about the other person. Like
Right.
it's like oh yeah, well that like I'm very reserved.
That bitch Marlena.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm very reserved, but whenever that Marlena comes in here, she is a fucking bitch. She's a whore. She talks to everybody. I like to sit in the corner, and you're like, wait a minute, you're the same person, right?
It's like this is very convenient for you to be an asshole when when you want to be a different person.
All right, what's next?
Next is Aunt Charlie's Lounge, or Aunt Charlie's Lounge.
Wait, where's that one?
Turk Street between Jones and Taylor. So we're talking deep tenderloin, right?
We'll ask Drew Harmon if he likes
We'll
it.
have to. Look at a second. 2 mentions in one show.
Next.
Congratulations. We'll give him a chance to set up, record that. Hawaii West on Vallejo in Stockton.
Wow, I haven't been to that one either.
And I don't know, looks like it has sort of a Jimmy Buffett vibe to it.
Ooh, that sounds terrible.
It does sound terrible. 500 Club, which we've already done, which is
The 500 Club is
a classic.
is a staple.
Staple and a classic.
In a classic.
And I believe the number one place that they have listed is the High Tide Lounge.
Oh yeah, that's in
Hungarian
the
joke.
Tenderloin as well. Yeah.
So
You know what? Those
that's
are
their-
very like San Francisco proper centric. But I
Yeah,
hear
they didn't seem to go out like into the hinterlands of the Sunset or
not
Richmond.
going down
at
to
all.
Pissed Off Pete's or like
Yeah.
Excelsior or something like that.
It's like best dive bars within 10 blocks of where we are.
Are you ready to take a break?
Yeah, we should. Wait, what's your saying to take a break?
It's time to get a drink
Time to get a drink.
from the Tempest.
All right.
All right, this is SF and we are back.
R.I.P. Conrad Bain.
Conrad Bain died today or yesterday?
Mr. Drummond, he might have died yesterday. I think that maybe they found his corpse this morning.
We're totally dating ourselves. Because a lot of people are like, have to look this up. Like, who is Mr. Drummond and what is Different Strokes?
I thought you meant dating ourselves like, he died like a week ago. What is this bullshit podcast?
Actually, by the time this comes out, he will have been dead for like at least a week.
Apologies for... well, there could be people that aren't as in tune as we are and like are just now finding out.
Apologies to those people.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Big apologies to the Drummond family.
and to those people, you should also know that Willis went to jail some time ago.
I played basketball against Todd Bridges once
No shit.
in Winnetka Park, Southern California.
Wait, was that the place that like Belle Biv DeVoe used to play? Like the fucking pickup game there?
No, it was like an indoor gym that I used to coach at, and we were like playing basketball afterwards. And Todd Bridges was there, and he was big.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what happens when you come out of jail. Like, all you do is like lift weights, right?
Right. He said, "Hey everybody, I'm Willis. Guys, suck anybody's dick for crack?"
What are you talking about, Willis? All right, so what do we got? Oh, you know what? Here's that segment. Do you have any sound effects for this?
Oh, wait. Fill some time. I'll
Okay.
find the sound effect.
So here is one of our new segments. It's called Bullshit Pint.
Bullshit pint.
If any of you remember, when we were at Yancey's last week, we had some pints that were bullshit because they were not 16 ounces.
Right. So yeah, they were bullshit. Wait,
That's not going to work there.
I know, probably not.
So
I can hear a goddamn thing.
we have a pint from the Tempest, which,
Yes.
Andrew, do you think this will be a bullshit pint, or do you think this will be a true pint?
This looks like a legit pint. I mean, I think what made the Yancey's pint so egregious was that it was so obvious. Like they didn't even try. Like you had like the sort of beveled edges that went into the bottom, so it was almost like a champagne flute, like disguised
Yes.
as a pint. and then like and the bottom was like beveled, like beveled in like a big dimple in the bottom.
But
of the
also, like I
glass.
said in the last podcast, if you took like the pint glass empty and you held it horizontally,
it'd be like heavy on one
it'd
side.
be heavy on the small side.
Right.
And I'm feeling that we're gonna like the Tempest is gonna pass the test here.
Yeah,
because
I think-
I've brought a pint of water. Actually,
again,
1.05. So
105 as is the
5/100ths of a pint over,
custom. Right.
and so it should just like be right over.
It should. Yeah, there should just be a little tiny bit left in the water.
So here we go.
Here we go.
Bullshit
pouring,
pint.
pouring. About halfway done. Coming to the top and stop. And you know what? There's Jesus Christ.
You know
Wow.
what?
There's barely enough in the bottom of that glass, in the bottom of the water.
So you know what?
Drink.
I think it's like it's a true pint.
It is a true pint.
So these guys, do you have like a sound effect for like for winning the bullshit pint test?
Let's see. It's not really much of a.
So for anybody who's like thinking about coming to the Tempest bar, you can be sure that you're getting a full pint of beer when you order it.
Well, not only that, but I mean, like if you want to get a good deal, the Bush and the Bush and Dickel special, or as it used to be, I think it used to be like what was it before? It was Jim Beam and like PBR, I think. But like they've since switched it up, so
They kind of classed it down, actually.
yeah, I guess so. Like, I think like they probably got priced out of that market, like the precious PBR market.
All right, so what do we have next? We have the are we doing
We can do Gone But Not Forgotten. That's
okay, Gone But Not Forgotten?
such a popular segment. We get letters at least no times a week.
Well, when I first came into this bar, like, and I said to you, like, oh, we're going to do Gone But Not Forgotten, but I don't have a candidate.
I said, ease up, like Slave Master. Like, we don't have to do anything.
We can just, like, talk shit for, like, 45 minutes.
And I said, oh yeah, we have segments.
But then I just realized that this is a bar that I used to go to before I hosted a open mic at Annie's Social Club.
Wow.
And not to like brag, but Annie's Social Club was a comedy staple for 2.5 years.
It was.
Even though the people who ran Annie's Social Club hated us.
Well, of course.
I remember
Why wouldn't they?
I remember one of the bartenders saying to me, he's like, you know what? You bring a lot of people in, but nobody buys any booze.
Of course, they're all poor comedians.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, yeah, well, that's not what, if that's what you're looking for, it's not like a karaoke thing out there where people
Right.
have to get all lubed up before they go on stage. It's like these guys like are poor and they want to like do comedy.
Right.
But we would pack the house. But apparently, they just weren't making enough money, and it became, I think it's called Ultra Lounge now.
Is it?
I can't even bring myself to go in there.
No.
Because-
it'd be too depressing.
It would be really depressing.
Yeah.
Like, but that is my gone and not forgotten.
Like, and unfortunately not forgotten. Because, like, yeah, you'd like to forget it. It is.
Shout out, actually gone but not forgotten, my comedy partner, Chad Lehrman.
Well, he's just living in Tucson, Arizona. It's not,
Yeah, it's so sad that he had to go at such an early age.
He had to go and die, a.k.a. have children and move to Arizona.
And he might as well be dead.
Well, that's great. I mean, like, yeah, I have many, many fond memories of that place as well. Like, I think, I went up a couple of times and, like, you know, did a poor version of what stand-up comedy would be.
No, you did a good job.
I think, like, I mean, like, the environment itself, like the room itself, was actually pretty fun because, like, it had this like kind of like weird Chinese whorehouse decor, like where you had like, you know, these sort of like trinkets around the walls and mirrors and it was in the back and it was just like,
Well,
yeah,
the thing about if you're ever gonna like start an open mic, and this goes out to anybody, like if you're gonna start an open mic, if you can have a dedicated room in the back of a bar.
Right.
Oh my God! You jump on that like it's the last helicopter out of Saigon, because like that is really what you want. Because even those like weeks,
Apologies to any Vietnamese listeners that didn't get out of Saigon.
But even those weeks where it was like slow when we were first like starting, it's like by the end, like the place was packed. And because if you run a comedy night right next to a bar where like a lot of people go to the bar, they're not there for comedy, you're basically fighting those people.
Right.
Like there's a bunch of people who like don't want to hear your stupid bullshit, but if you have a dedicated room or a stage in the back,
it's amazing. Yeah, because,
it's great.
Like,
It makes all the difference in the world.
Like there was an actual door, like you know, and so it was like, and the funny thing is like at that place, like not only was there the back room, there was also a dedicated concert space right next to the bar. And like if they had like made you guys do it on the stage like next to the bar, it probably would have been a horrible failure.
Yeah.
Because like everybody that went to the bar would have been like, fuck this. Like, you know, like I don't want to listen to this.
Well, whoever ran that place knew what they were doing. They had a big stage for like big shows, and they had like a small stage in the back that they could like, you know, pack people in. And we could get like maybe 50 people in there like comfortably. And but it felt, because it was all like so small, like it felt like 100 people.
Exactly, yeah. It felt like, you know, it was a packed house, even if it was just like 30 comedians.
And there were actually a couple of like moments where we had like moved to the front stage. We had like Will Franken's like going away concert or performance there, and so many people showed up. We had to like move everything to the front stage. But yes, if you get a chance to do an open mic, just do it.
Right. If you get a chance to get a time machine, go back and like want to see some good comedy, then go to Annie's.
It's a great like experience. I still get a lot of like goodwill from there.
Yeah.
And even Drew Harmon was one of our was one of our hosts.
I think we have to put like a moratorium on like mentioning Drew Harmon at this point, because like at this point we're just looking for excuses where we'd be like, hey, I stubbed my toe. I think Drew Harmon stubbed his toe at one point.
But you know, a lot of people who listen will like wonder to themselves, does Drew Harmon really exist, or they just actually like create this character? Is he like Epstein's mom like writing him like letters?
Well, and even if like, I mean, because he still occasionally does stand-up comedy, like out and about, like they're gonna be like they're gonna think it's like a Tony Clifton situation where they're gonna be like, that has to be either Jeff or Andrew doing a character, because there's, maybe this is actually.
Well, wasn't it Nietzsche who said that like if Drew Harmon didn't exist, society would have like needed to invent him.
Those are words to live by.
What else we got? Anything?
Well, there was actually one thing, like I guess like this falls under the plugs.
The plug segment
of the show, and like we're available on iTunes, and like the easiest way to find that is just to search SFBarkast, or just actually Barkast.
Barkast.
One word.
I couldn't find it, and
right.
I was doing SFBarkast.
And it's just Barkast, BARKAST. Search that, you'll find our podcast. Leave like a positive like message, and you know what? Like if you leave a positive message and like a suggestion of a place that we should like go, we'll definitely go there. And like, who knows? Like, if you're a cool person and we like you, maybe we'll have you as a guest on the show.
Well, see, this is the thing that, like, you know, you're kind of like you're hiding the fact that we need like good reviews. And on iTunes, if you get a better review, you get like kind of bumped up. So our like little bait for you to give us a good review is.
But almost more so than that, I would like to. I mean, like, I want to be like in tune with our listeners and like go to places that they want to hear about.
Of course,
so like that's an added bonus.
We have a long
win-win. It's all about synergy.
We have a long list of places that we really want to check out. But you know what? We would even more like to check out places that you want us to check out.
Yeah, asshole. So fucking like tell us. Don't quit holding on.
So quit fucking around.
Right, like don't leave me hanging.
All right, so you ready to sign off?
Sure.
Wait, so you like this bar, right?
Oh, of course. All right.
Yeah, you know, like, unlike last week's bar, like I would totally recommend this place.
Oh yeah, I can't see myself not coming back here, at least every a couple of years, and maybe even more often, depending on
next
where
time,
the evening takes me.
Next time you're close to Howard and 5th,
Yeah, or
definitely
even-
like find your way over here.
Or even if you find yourself, okay, let's say like your family comes into town and they want to go to the Westfield Shopping Center, or they want to go to Nordstrom's, or like, they want to like hang around Union Square, some
And-
bullshit like that.
Yeah, and I know where you're going. You say like, yeah, let's take them to the mall,
Right.
drop them off, and
Meet
come
you
down
back
here, get like a Bush in Dickles, George Dickles, and then go back and like have a great time with your family. Because everybody
Exactly.
knows when you have family in town, it's like this huge source of stress. You gotta like put them on their little
And
what
they'll,
they
like,
want to do.
Well, they'll come back. You'll be in like the Westfield food court, and they'll be like, "Why are you in such a good mood all of a sudden?" And you're like,
You'd be like, Mom, because
like-
I love you.
Exactly.
It's not because I went to the Tempest and got hammered. It's because Mom and Dad, I love you.
exactly. Like,
Now I gotta
just-
go take a rest.
right, now I'm gonna go fall asleep on the toilet.
Right. So I think that is like the greatest like recommendation we could give a place.
Exactly.
All right, so this is SF Barkast. We're signing off from the Tempest. This is Jeff Cleary,
And this is Andrew Lauder.
and we'll see you next time.
See ya.